Hello and welcome to the Daily Millwall for Thursday the 9th of November 2023. In today's Millwall news, couple of interviews, namely from, not an interview, an update. Steve Kavanaghs has been pointing out these updates usually at the start of the month. This one's come out on the 9th. So this is from millfc.co.uk, an extensive update from Millwall CEO Steve Kavanagh. I'm very pleased to be writing to you all following the appointment of Joe Edwards as our new coach. I would like to publicly welcome Joe to Millwall, along with his new assistant Andrew Myers, and wish them the very best of luck as we begin a new era for the football club. Any managerial recruitment process is, of course, very challenging, and this has been no different. Despite it being a matter of just a few weeks, Gary Rowett's departure feels like a long time ago now. Over the course of 4 years, the quality of job he did is indisputable. Gary arrived with a remit to stabilise things, establish us in this division, and over time help us to begin to compete at the upper end of the Championship. He did exactly that, and in each season we were competing for the top six, and although we ultimately came up short, agonisingly so last May, we showed continued progress with each campaign, and I would like to thank Gary for all he did for us and wish him well. Before I go any further, I would also like to show my appreciation for Adam Barrett, who stepped into caretaker charge of the team in difficult circumstances following Gary's departure, and particularly a remarkable professionalism, drive and determination. While we perhaps didn't get the rub of the green in certain moments of his time in charge, it was clear that the players responded very well to Adam's approach and methods, and we're delighted he's accepted Joe's request for him to remain part of the new look backroom team. Over the past few weeks, Adam has been assisted by Paul Robinson, not that one, who has now left the club after around 2.5 years at Millwall. Robinson was very popular with players and staff alike, both at Calmont Road and the Den. Because of his hard work, dedication and personality, he leaves having made a big difference, and we wish him nothing but the very best for the future. Joe's appointment came at the end of a long, detailed and multi-layered recruitment process. We used what we did before the arrival of Gary as a blueprint, but enhanced it further. Initially, I met candidates alongside Alex Aldridge before second stage interviews, with a final shortlist which also included James Belson and Scott Fitzgerald on the panel. There were other elements to the process which I won't go into detail on, but that helped us make the most informed decisions possible along the way. While I can't name names, I would like to recognise the other excellent candidates involved throughout the process. It was a very difficult decision for us, given the efforts of those who missed out, and I wish all of them very well. In Joe, we have recruited a young man to a role of this kind for the first time, but he is someone of very significant coaching experience and background, and at some of the highest levels in the game too. Throughout the entire process, we were all incredibly impressed with his knowledge, enthusiasm, and thirst for success, and in the end we felt he was the best candidate to help take the club forward across the long term. Joe has already spoken very openly and candidly about his desire to evolve the playing style, all the while acknowledging that will take some time to do. There could well be some bumps in the road and some difficult times, sure, but he has our patience and support, and I'm positive he does that from the fan base as well. He's spoken also about developing links with the academy, set up further, and a desire to integrate our young talent into the group more and more. But again, there is a delicate balance between risk and reward on this front, and we trust Joe to always do what is best for the football club as a whole, now and in the future. Speaking more broadly, it's a pivotal time in the history of football in this country. I was pleased to see and hear about the independent regulation in the King's speech on Tuesday of this week. I hope that a redistribution deal can soon be agreed and delivered. The challenging reality is that parachute payments cause economic and competitive instabilities in the Championship, which is a drum I have been banging for years. It is so imperative that we protect football clubs, community assets, no matter what. And if we can ease the financial burden on the owners, the Relson family in our case, by making everyone more sustainable in the process, then that can only help the game. It appears very likely that there will be a reworking of the economic model in which clubs can follow and are regulated by. I hope that is an interim step to lessen the burden on the owners. Before long, we will only be able to spend a set percentage of our revenue on players' wages and transfer fees, which should hopefully go a long way to reducing the tendency of clubs to overspend and risk their futures in the pursuit of success. In truth, we are already operating at close to that levels that could be enforced as part of a new deal for football. And so, speaking very transactionally, we will need to make more money in order to invest more in the squad. Therefore, an ever widening strategic focus on driving revenues across the business is at the heart of our operational objectives, including on the football side. Joe is fully on board with that, and he and his staff will work collaboratively with Alex, the recruitment team, Scott, and others to ensure effective and productive alignment throughout the football department. They will, of course, be assisted by myself and the club senior management, which has undergone a restructure following a couple of departures and arrivals in recent times. We are pleased to welcome Emma Parker, who last week joined us as Chief Financial Officer, while Luke Wilson, our new Chief Commercial Officer, has been in situ since late September. They both have a wealth of experience in and out of the club football and will bring fresh sets of ideas across a range of matters. To round off the restructure, Billy Taylor, who's progressed at the club over the last 11 years now, has taken on the position of Chief Operating Officer. The three of them are already working collaboratively on driving operational and strategic standards on the business side, while also closely linking in with Alex as Director of Football Operations and Recruitment and these departments to ensure a whole club approach on what we do. And the very best and most successful clubs in the country have terrific synergy between their on and off pitch operations, and we are continually striving to enhance all that we do in this regard. With the above in mind, we have made the decision to appoint Joe as head coach rather than manager. Nowadays, there is so much more variation, depth, and work involved in running the football department that it's too difficult for one person, a manager, to oversee while adequately focusing on coaching the team to be the best it can be and preparing it for the busy and unforgiving championship fixture list. Having a head coach is simply a more modern approach which allows Joe to do what he does best, while others behind the scenes and our heads of department at the training ground, overseen by Alex, do likewise to support Joe, the coaching staff, and the players. Moving on to other matters, one significant long-term strategic objective is, of course, the opening of the new training ground. I haven't been able to update supporters on this for some time because, in truth, there is little to say other than we are continuing to do what we can to produce a build plan which is both financially viable and operationally achievable. Since we started the process, the price of materials and the build have rocketed beyond belief, but we are still focused and determined to open the site at the earliest opportunity, although there could be a more phased approach to doing so than we had initially hoped. Spreading the cost over a slightly longer period will be crucial. When more definitive information is available to release, we will of course let you all know at the first opportunity, though in the meantime we are open to drawing upon relative expertise from across the Millwall family to assist with the project. Right. We have not long come out of the other side of an FA disciplinary case, which was heard by an independent regulatory commission following chanting away at Wigan Athletic towards the end of last season. It was a lengthy, complex and expensive process during which we were both transparent about and fiercely defensive of our due diligence work in the build-up to the fixture, as well as our actions after. I hope many of you have read the written reasons for the case, and if you're not, you can do so by clicking here, as they detail how complimentary both the FA and the Commission were about our efforts. Ultimately, the chanting happened, and while our work meant we didn't get a fine on this occasion, we are now under an action plan to prevent such chanting or anything accepted as discriminatory generally for the foreseeable future. That means there is a spotlight on us. If it happens again, we are facing very heavy financial penalties regardless of any proactive or preventative measures we put in place. We must accept that the world is a different place to years gone by, and our behaviours in all walks of life need to adjust as a result. I therefore ask everyone to really think twice before they start joining with such chanting, because we cannot escape the fact that we are on the edge of significant punishments. I do not wish to hide from the fact that earlier in the season we experienced some significant issues on the retail side of the business due to a complex technical and logistical issue which affected the capability of our partners, Fanatics. As has always been done directly by Fanatics, we extend our apologies to all supporters who were impacted by what we expected to be a one-off issue. While I do understand that there has been and will continue to be occasional problem on the retail side, I'm also confident that the club staff we have now working with Fanatics, a huge global company who are vastly experienced in this industry, will work tirelessly to develop and improve what has long been a problematic area for the club. I hope many of you have been able to make use of the new e-bars around the stadium, which I believe are a terrific addition to our offering support to supporters on match days, both in the fan zone and other areas. To have the first beer wall of its style in Europe is testament to the hard work of our staff at the club and our partners at Sodexo, who are constantly working with us to improve the matchday experience for all those who attend the games at the Den. While the game ended with a heartbreaking stoppage time, it was great to have yet another sold-out Den for last week's visit of Southampton. It felt particularly special with it being our remembrance game too, and I can't wait to see what the total you raise for the Royal British Legion will be this year. I'm informed that early indications suggest you've excelled yourselves once more, which is of course no surprise to me given your remarkable generosity for this cause and so many others each and every season. On a final note, finally, I would like to thank everybody who responded so positively to James's first interview with Mill TV this week since John's tragic passing back in July. James and his family have had to contend with unimaginable grief, but he has thrown himself into his new role as chairman of the club with remarkable enthusiasm and determination. There's been so much for him to take in during such a short period, but as was mentioned in the interview, he is incredibly infused and energized by your ongoing support. Thank you for your ongoing backing of the club, and here's to the start of what we all hope to be a successful new era for Millwall. Steve. Right, let's pick this apart then. Here we go. A lot to get through. Right, what are we talking about? This is just information, so that's then they tell us. Right, so okay. Moving on. What are we going to pick apart first? Okay, yeah. So, like I said, it sounds like the financial stuff that's coming up. They're trying to bring through more youth players into the first team, and because we can't afford to buy them anymore, we're going to be limited in what we can do. Also, probably means we will be a selling club. If we do buy a player for 2 million like Zion Fleming, and we do get an offer for 10 million, we almost likely will have to accept it. And that's going to be our future. Now, I've talked about this before. This redistribution deal is it's the Premier League's money. They earn it. It's their money. Why is the Championship just sticking their fingers in the pie and then moaning that they need more pie? They're hungry and they need more, like Oliver Twist. More, please. Can we have more of your money? It's their money. Like, I don't understand this. And if you want to fix parachute payments, let's fix it. Here's an idea. Everyone who has a contract with a Premier League team, there is a clause in your contract that says if you get relegated, your clause is null and void. Oh no, you don't want to sign that type of contract because it means you will lose vast amounts of money. Okay. Then parachute payments as it is. Because the reason why that's there, because it costs a lot of money to run a Premier League team, and it doesn't cost that much to run the Championship team. And you buy all these players, and they want 2 years, 3 year deals. And when you go down, you'll still have to pay them the money from the Premier League. So that's why the parachute payments come in. Not only that, but the Premier League, they want these teams to come back. They want a high standard for their league, and that's how it goes. They don't want. You've seen it because I think that. Correct me if I'm wrong. That come about because Swindon came up and they were absolutely fucking awful. The worst ever season in the Premier League, where they finished rock bottom of the table. And soon after that, someone said, "Well, why don't we invent parachute payments? So the teams that get relegated, we can give them some extra money, and they can keep going, and they can probably try and get back up." rather than having like a constant stream of minnow teams going up like Blackpool and Luton and Swindon and whatever. Let's do it so there's like a solid team, which is what has happened now. There's like the championship, the top half of the championship is basically Premier League B. So that's what they want. But yeah, I don't back all this communist bullshit about fucking redistribution of wealth. It's their wealth, man. If you go with a begging bowl and they say, "Oh, here you go, this is what you get," how can you moan until you go to the government and say, "Oh, they're not giving us enough money. It's their money." Like, fuck off, man. Um, yeah. What else are we going to talk about? The training ground. More on that in the next thing. So, obviously, where it says there relevant expertise from across the Millwall family to assist with the project. Basically, um, if you want to if you're a building company and you want your name on Millwall shirts next season, like offer to help with the training ground, then sponsor in return for sponsoring the shirts. That's what they're talking about. Literally quid pro quo. You help with the training ground, and now like give you like whatever, like a box at the den or whatever they can do. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. But yeah, so that was over a year ago. Correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't planning permission only last for 3 years? So you better get moving. Now we get to the juicy bit. I've already made a crackpot video about this. Many have said, "Fair play to you." I understand. If you do read that report there, you will find now this blows my mind. This happened at Wigan and Flegg. It was in their ground. It's their duty to control the fans in the ground. Now the reason why we got done, if you read the report, because they were talking to Steve Kavanagh before the game. He was at the game. He was saying, "Don't worry, lad. Don't worry, guys. Okay, I'll go and speak to Mill's top boy." And we still don't know who the fuck did he talk to. Was it Sam Mason or was it Dean Meyer? Who the fuck is he talking to? And he spoke to him and said, "Can you tell them not to do the chanting?" And then apparently they went around saying, "Oh, can we not do the chanting?" Because Steve Kavanagh said, "Don't do the chanting." So because he got involved and said, "Yeah, don't worry, guys. I've got this one. I've got this under control." He took the responsibility of it. So that's why Millwall got in fucking trouble. Read the report. If he had just said, "What the fuck you want me to do? Do you think I'm fucking Moses?" Like, they're not following me. They do what they want. Quite literally. Yeah, like take the fucking all this fucking secret double probation is just bullshit as well. Just take the fucking financial penalty and tell them to fuck off. Fanatics, yeah. I mean, so they're saying it was a one-off and it's all been fixed, but then they're saying, "Oh, there might be the odd thing now." Oh, okay. We've spoken about the e-bar walls. It's we're the first one to do this. It was trialled at Huddersfield, as I mentioned in the video the other week. But we were the first ones to do it. So now in Huddersfield's video, they were talking about make sure they weren't serving it to under 18s. Millwall, no such suggestion. I don't know if they consider that a possibility, or they don't give a shit. But so if you have to have someone there to shoo the kids away if they try and buy a beer, why would they? I think they all drink Alco Pops these days, isn't it? What is it? Smirnoff Ice. They don't drink fucking lager. They can't have that. It's too bitter. They need sweet shit. Seltzers, hard seltzers. Yeah, so we're basically like a guinea pig. So I think obviously again, I think Millwall doing all deals here, there, and everywhere. Some of them work out. Some of them go really tits up, like Euro Ferries and what was the other one? Elite Sports Group. But there you go. What was the other one? Yeah, that's it. I think that was it. But there you go. So talking about the training ground, that spun off into a different story from southwarknews.co.uk. Mill's chief executive reveals why plans for a new training ground have been hampered And why he's not setting a deadline on when things will progress? Well, you should, because the planning permission will surely fucking run out. The Lions have plans for a new training base signed off over a year ago, but factors outside of the club's current control mean the project cannot move forward as swiftly as some would like. Mill's chief executive Steve Kavanaghs is refusing. He's refusing to set deadlines on when plans for a new training ground might advance. It's when they might actually begin, not when they're going to be finished. The Lions received approval from Seven Oaks Council's planning committee in October 2022 for a new training ground site in West Kingsdown, Kent. The new base is planned to have far more advanced facilities than the current training ground of Calmont Road in Bromley. I believe that the planning committee approved it based on getting certain things through, like community action plans and shit like that. And that had to be signed off, and that was signed off in June, I believe. June this year, 2023. But rising global inflation means plans can't advance as quickly as the club would like. Steve Kavanagh said Millwall may have to get inventive to help keep things moving, and assist the new training ground remains critically important. He told News at Den, everyone in the world at the moment is aware of inflation and what's happening in the world. We've been hampered to an extent by that, and we're trying to make sure we get plans flowing and moving forward. But things cost a substantial amount of money, and that's gone up with inflation. We're working hard as part of the long-term desire to move that forward, but it's not as easy as, let's just do it over here. It does have to be paid for, and that's difficult, and we might need to be inventive about how we achieve that. And we're looking at all those different ways, as we know it's critically important to the long-term future of the club. I've got an open mind, as the most important thing is that it starts happening. I'm not going to set dates or deadlines. I'm more focused on how we do it and make sure it's deliverable. So it looks like they maybe had a budget and a set price, and that's gone up insanely. So you're going to have to do something about that. Now, so obviously inflation, no, but so they're talking about the costs of stuff, right? So you're taking money and you're buying real things with it, and the cost of these real things is going up and up and up and up. But we don't have money to save. Well, we don't really have money. We borrow money. We borrow money generally from the Berelsons, and then they convert it to shares. Now, when there's high inflation, you do not want to be someone who borrows, who loans money. You want to be someone who borrows money. So inflation is bad for people who are lending money, because you loan out money in 2020, you loan out $1 million. Inflation means that money is worth less in 2 years' time. So that person who's borrowed that money pays you back, and it's not the same amount of money that they need, because inflation has inflated the money supply. I believe that's how it goes. So what this means is that, right, so what is the problem then? So that we can't get a loan, but we only loan from the Berelsons. So the Berelsons don't want to loan us money because they're not going to get it back, as much of it back, or they're going to have to tack on the interest rate. Why don't we go to the market? What's the loan market like? I assume because they know about inflation that they're going to tack on a massive interest rate. Is that the problem? I don't know. But it's not gonna fix itself unless there's a massive depression or a massive recession. Like, inflation's still going to be there, so I don't know. I don't think it's going to get that much better, to be honest with you. If there's maybe a specialized recession just in the building industry, I don't know. But then the costs of that such things may drop, and it may be highly competitive to sign contractors to do work if there's not that much work out there. But I don't know. I'm not a building expert. I know many Millwall fans maybe. They own their own building companies and such. Is what this guy's saying true? I don't know. But yeah, it's not gonna go. It's not gonna go away. You need to do something about it. So piss or get off the pot. Moving on to this from southernnews.co.uk. Using his contacts during the transfer window, advice from other managers and touchline behaviour, all the best bits from Joe Edwards' first press conference. The new Lions boss fielded questions from journalists for the first time during a virtual press conference. And we've basically got the whole thing here. I don't know if that's de rigueur, if you're allowed to do that. I guess it's a you're speaking to the press, unless you say this is off the record, but I guess if you're speaking to them, everything's on the record. So yeah, but is it just me? This is they're building this guy up like the second coming of Jesus Christ. If we don't perform at Sheffield Wednesday, this is gonna start to get sticky. If we don't win at Sheffield Wednesday, like they're the worst team in the league by far. They're an absolute basket case. They're bottom of the league. They're worse. They've got a worse home record than us. Now, what does that say? As a Millwall fan of many years, I'm telling you how bad Sheffield Wednesday are. What is going on in your mind right now when I say that? You know what's coming. You know what's coming. We're gonna fucking lose. That's what we do. That's what we do, as Danny Shittle would say. That's what we do. We beat the good teams and we lose to the shit teams. That's what we do. That is what we do. But if they're building this guy up so much that if we lose to Sheffield Wednesday, I mean, fucking hell. Your ass is going to start twitching that we've got the wrong guy here. The 37-year-old boss was hired as head coach on Monday and spent Tuesday and Wednesday getting to know the players and putting them through their paces here because he was way too busy on Monday taking photos at the Den. Today was his first chance to interact with the media as newspaper journalists, broadcasters and radio presenters put questions to Edwards during a virtual press conference. These are the best bits. Oh God, I've got to read all of this. Oh Lord, very tight knit. Edwards said the good rapport he quickly built with his interviewers was part of what encouraged him to take the job, and said there was a real alignment between him and those at the top of the club. He said the big thing was the people. The people I met initially on the process, Steve Kavanaghs and Alex Aldridge, were the first people I met, and I felt like we had a good rapport very early on. And then that developed into the next morning with Scott Fitzgerald, but more importantly, James Berylson. I think when the five of us were sat in the room, it was very tight knit, which was nice, and it felt like there was a real alignment and unity in the room, but in a nice manner in a way. And you can sit and talk. And now I'm in a position where I'm working with them, I do feel like they're genuinely here to support me and give me all the help that I need to make the job as easy as possible for me. Easy? You think this is an easy job? Brother, you're in the wrong fucking place, my friend. Easy. Don't wish it was easy. Wish you were better. Because if you get better at your job, then it's going to be easier anyway. Out of possession, focused team. Edwards once again underlined his plans to not overhaul Millwall's playing style overnight, but instead tried to make gradual changes. He praised the organisation and diligence that the Lions have demonstrated and gave an insight into the immediate changes he has made to training sessions. The head coach said, coming in and from the outset, making a mark very quickly with the players in terms of the training sessions, not just kind of dipping our toe in with some of the generic sessions just to get moving. We've gone straight to it and what we want it to look like and feel like on the pitch. And I think there's been a real positive response, and I feel excitement among the players. I think there was definitely a shift in the playing style overall. Maybe can sound a strong word in how quick we expect to get there. When I talk about the change, I want to be really clear, and that's not to be critical of what has gone on before, what we're changing from. One thing I pointed out to everyone, including the players, is that the Championship is an incredibly competitive and difficult league, and to sustain the kind of stability they have with 4 consecutive top half finishes is not easy. It's not for me to be really critical of a playing style or a setup and say this has been failing. It served the club very well and it helped some of the players perform well and consistently. But I think, like anything over the time, the game moved forward incredibly quickly. People in general and players at times need something fresh and need a bit of a jolt to kick things on again. So I would describe what I've seen in this Millwall side and in recent times as a very well organised, hard-working, but probably out of possession-focused team. And I see a group when I watched them that night, in my opinion, have the capability to be better in possession of the ball. Not overnight, but I don't think in the next 2-3 games you're going to see a team that looks incredibly different. But over time, I would hope so. Talking to other managers, Edwards revealed he has spoken to Ipswich Town boss Kieran McKenna during the process of getting the Millwall job. McKenna, who will host Edwards and Millwall at Portman Road on November 29th, live on Sky TV, by the way, has enjoyed a brilliant time in charge of Ipswich, leading them to League One promotion last season and second in the Championship so far this season. Edwards said, someone like Steve Cooper and Kieran McKenna are both people I've known for a long time and I speak to regularly. Kieran I spoke to last week. Cooper does not, but it wasn't a case of when Millwall job come up. I felt the need to make immediate calls for advice, but while Coops was at Swansea and then Norwich and Forest, and the same with Kieran, we would speak about players regularly on the phone, and whilst we were in those conversations, of course, I would ask for insights from their experience on how they found the jump. And what you realise is that every environment is different. So, albeit not in the head coach position, but I've worked closely with people like Frank and Thomas Tuchel and watched them go through what a head coach goes through. And from the experience I've had, particularly from the last couple of years, I've seen the strength of the characters in the dressing room is important. I've seen glimpses. Edwards said he has seen signs in training that the Lions players could change their spots. There's been speculation on whether the managerial change will see Millwall adopt a more progressive style of play, and if so, whether the current group of players will be able to adapt. Speaking on the subject, Edwards said, I've heard good things about the group. You can put a spin on it of some of the senior players that have been playing a very particular type of way for a prolonged period now. Does that qualify as set in their ways? Well, they've only been working to that way of playing. I looked at general qualities and can I come in and with different ideas and different constraints around them, can he look a different player? In my opinion, the answer was yes with lots of them. And I've already felt that in the training pitch. Players that some people might determine as out-and-out defenders and not so much ball players, I've already seen glimpses in the first couple of days in training where I've got that belief that whether it will be one of the young players like Romain Esse or the players in their 30s in this group, that hopefully a new way of working can bring out the best of a lot of them. Yes, but I will tell you this. Laddie. Training is not real games. Some players look absolutely blinding in training, and then when they play the real game, less so. A sign of the times. Edwards reflected on the novelty of him getting the head coach job at Millwall despite his lack of experience managing senior teams. The Lions have generally opted for more experienced names, but Edwards instead, despite the ex-Chelsea coach not being among the initial front runners for the job. The new boss said, I suppose you could argue 6 or 7 years ago if this job came up at Millwall, would someone of my age or profile be an obvious candidate? Probably not. It's helped, no doubt, but when one or two are given the opportunity and they take their opportunity well, and open the door and pave the way for the rest of us. Definitely be looking to pull on some contacts. Okay. Edwards has said he's hoping these links with Chelsea and Everton can help unearth some young talent who can improve Millwall. The January window will be his first chance to bring in new players, and Edwards' knowledge of certain clubs and his contacts could give him the edge. He said, I'm not too proud to rely on mates, that's for sure. Definitely every window is an opportunity to strengthen your squad. I wouldn't drop any names of any players now, but it's been a competitive market for sure, and it's been a big part of my background, not only Chelsea, but obviously my role was at England. You build a lot of connections and a lot of friends at youth football. I like to think particularly the people at Chelsea, they saw how diligent and passionate I was to help the young boys. I would like to think that if people were going to be sending their best young players out on loan, for example, they would trust if they come to work with us at Millwall that they will be getting a good service. We'll look at how things are for the squad for us in January. If it's an option for us, I would definitely be looking to pull on some contacts and favours. A special bunch. Edwards reflected on the Millwall fan base and how much of a role they play in helping the team, especially at home. What? He said there's a lot of people who are strongly connected to the club and have been attached to the club for a long time. I think a lot of clubs nowadays are the same, that when you get to the club, there's so much passion and support around it that understandably there's expectations with that. I do know these fans can be a special bunch in a very good way. When the den is on side and behind the team, it's an incredible force. There's definitely a strong connection between the fan base and the club and a real sort of unity. No one likes us. I've already known about that for a long time. I've probably lived it in my time at Everton. It was a similar situation where the fans at times, when things are looking how they should on the pitch or efforts are questions, the fans voice their concern with that. But at the same time, when it's a two-way street and you produce something on the pitch that is worthier than getting behind you, it can be a real strong force. I've had nothing but support at the moment, which I'm incredibly grateful for, and I know that the job is to maintain that relationship. No wonder he got the fucking interview. He can just waffle on all the time, can't he? Touchline behaviour. Edwards was asked what he was like on the touchline during matches. Well, that's a very amazing question. Was that one of the last questions of the day? Some managers spend most of their time sat in the dugout talking to their coaches, while others will stand in the technical area for 90 minutes barking orders at their players. On his preferred style, Edwards said, I would say I'm fairly considered. I'm certainly not one that believes you can have an incredible impact by constantly giving your players instructions or gesturing. That's my own personal preference. I would be more along the lines of get as much in the work week done, knowing that at the end of the day when the players are out there in front of 15, 20, 30,000, and it's pressure and it's happening at a split second, they have to be conditioned to make good decisions. I'm certainly there to make interventions and decisions and changes, but I'd say I'm more encouraging if things are going well. I see people being front-footed and tackling and pressing. If I could put an input of a bit of energy through praise, I'll do it, but I certainly wouldn't imagine seeing me up and down the technical area constantly for 90 minutes. Well. Did we need to know all that? I don't know. Like I said, they're building this guy up for a massive fall. I imagine they're doing it because they think Sheffield Wednesday were going to beat them, aren't we? There you go, and here we go. We've got another massive interview here with Alex Aldridge. We are delighted that Adam Barrett is staying as part of Joe Edwards' Millwall backroom team. Alex Aldridge says that Mill's hierarchy are delighted that Adam Barrett is staying on as part of the new head coach Joe Edwards' backroom staff. Okay. The Lions appointed Edwards on Monday, and he brought in Andrew Myers, who's been at Chelsea as a lone player technical coach. It was also confirmed that Barrett, who had been assistant to previous boss Gary Rowett, will not be leaving, but first team coach Paul Robertson departed by mutual consent. Barrett had taken caretaker charge of the Lions for the second time. He also stepped in when Neil Harris stepped down in 2019. Aldridge, Mill's director of football operations and recruitment, told the Southland Press, when we spoke to Adam and told him we'll be appointing Joe, straight away his feeling and reaction was that he's put a lot of hard work into the club over the last 7 years. He'd been part of a very, very successful period of the club. You could argue the last 6.5 seasons have been some of the most successful in the club's recent history in terms of league position and overperforming of our budget. Adam has been a huge part of that, and his quality of work is excellent. He's an outstanding person. He's usually well respected and liked by the players and staff. He stepped up as caretaker in quite difficult circumstances. But it wasn't exactly a kind run of fixtures, and we had some injury problems. But in terms of performance, the feeling around the training ground and squad, he led the group fantastically well during what is obviously an uncertain period by the nature of it. Adam has stayed because A, he wanted to stay, and B, because Joe wanted him to stay, and that's absolutely essential that it was a dynamic that was felt on both sides. Joe coming into his first role as head coach is usually appreciative of the fact that he got Adam as part of his team. With his experience and knowledge, he's worked with the club for a long period of time. He's got that relationship with Andy Myers. I think that team is going to fit together really well. From a club point of view, we're delighted that Adam stays to be part of it. He's extremely highly valued, and we were very grateful for him taking the team over the last few weeks. Rowett was just days away from marking 4 years at the helm when his departure from the Lions was announced last month. Part of my role is to always have an awareness of what if, said Aldridge. That could be us choosing to change a manager. That could be the manager coming to us and saying he thinks it's time to leave. And it becomes an amicable, mutual decision, which was the case with Gary. It could be that the manager gets poached by another club. It's not always your control when you change. It would be the same with Joe, even though he's just through the door. At some point we'll have thoughts on succession planning because, again, you just never know what's going to happen in football.
Gary was very honest with the chairman about how he felt, and he had reached a natural end point. He deserved a lot of credit and respect for that, because it probably wouldn't have been easier to carry on down that road, and probably wouldn't have been the right thing for the club, the team, or Gary. The exact timing of it maybe caught us a little bit by surprise, but the flip side of it is that Gary had been here for 4 years, which is a long time compared to with most other clubs. At Millwall, we've been used to long-serving managers, and it's a real strength of the club. We're also a bit of an outlier. The average term of a manager in the EFL is about a year. And there are natural cycles with managers and their coaches. Once you get to 4 years, you have to have an awareness that this has gone for a long time and that things don't go on forever. See Friday's South London Press for a full exclusive interview with Aldridge as he discusses Edwards' appointment and the interview process. So there you go. This to me is, why is he telling us this? Why do we need to know this? He's telling us what he wants us to hear. It's propaganda. Now, there were rumours that they had offered it Nathan Jones, but apparently he put a release clause in. That's just a rumour. What else did he want? Did he want his own second in charge? And did he want Adam Barrow to evo? Did he want him to leave? Is that why they got Joe Edwards in? Joe Edwards is basically acquiescing. He's not going to rock the boat. He's going to say, "Oh, Adam stays. Okay, yeah, I can work with Adam. That's fine." So they've got a nice guy in who won't fire Adam because they all like Adam Barrett. And he's putting this out. Why is he putting this out? Because a lot of the fans don't like Adam Barrett. They attach him to Gary Rowett and think he was like Gary Rowett Mark II. Don't know about that because he was here when Neil Harris was here, so I'm not sure how he's so entrenched with Gary Rowett. But so this seems to be saying, and then he's kind of taking a dig at Rowett, like saying, "Oh, he left us in the lurch. He told it. He said it's time to leave." So it was a mutual decision. But then he said, "Oh, he wanted to leave." So he quit. He quit then. And then you look, the exact time of it maybe caught us a little bit by surprise. So basically saying, like, putting the shit on Gary Rapp, saying he left us in the lurch. Oh dear. Oh dear. Why? Why are you saying these things? Just remain silent. Now, moving on to this. Edomu Maku called up for the Ireland under-21s. This is from millfc.co.uk, the club's official website. November international call up for Millwall's Edomu Maku. Edomu Maku has been called up to the Republic of Ireland under-21 squad for their 2 November fixtures. The Emerald Isle firstly travelled to Norway for a friendly match before heading back home for a crucial Euro 2025 under-21s championship qualifier against Italia. There you go. The games are there. That's a friendly, the first one on Friday. And then there's one on Tuesday against Italy. That's the competitive one. Not sure. Sometimes the friendly one, that because broadcasting rights, the friendly one might be on the, what do you call it, FAI's Football Association of Ireland's YouTube channel. Maybe not. The other one won't because that's the rights are owned by UEFA, I think. So it might be on. You might be able to watch that through UEFA, but I'm not too sure. And on that note, that is it. After all of that waffle, thank you for watching and goodbye.